Happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to Susie Say That. Today's topic is the dead is not among the living. The dead is not among the living. Let's sit in that for a moment. Because so many followers of Christ, I'm not talking about the world, because the world can believe what the world want to believe. Because when I was in the world, I believed what I wanted to believe. But I'm talking about us, followers of Christ, that really believe that the dead is among the living. They really believe that they can cry and they can summon up their parents and they can summon up their dead children and so forth. I've heard so many stories about people doing it. Even when I was in the world, I didn't mess with nothing dead. Even when I was in the world, I wouldn't do it. I said, oh no, something's wrong with that. I always knew that something was terribly wrong with the dead being among the living. And I didn't know too much about the dead, but I know some things about the dead. I did know that. But the dead cannot be among the living. Once the dead is dead, it's dead. Their life is like a vapor, it's gone. It is no more here. And for all you out that has so much regret and you thinking about your things you've said and things you've done and things, God can heal that. God can heal your regrets, and He can heal all the pain you feel about things that you didn't do with the dead, that the person that's dead now. You living in a whirlwind and the enemy is deceiving you. Those are familiar spirits. Let me say that again to you. Those are familiar spirits. You're grieving. We were not created to grieve. I seen one of my neighbors. She lost her husband almost 2 years ago, and I was telling her about my mom, and I was like, this I do know. We were not created to grieve. That's why the pain and your stomach and everything is so bad when someone that you love goes away. But this is the thing. They can't come back. Their life has been lived in this earth. They're not coming back. So all those spirits that you seen your daddy the other day, you seen your mama, you seen this and you seen that. It's because you're grieving that and you're inviting that into your space. I hope that makes sense to you. You're grieving so that you're inviting that into your space. And the enemy knows very well how to deceive you and keep you in that space of sadness and sorrow so that you won't live the life that God has for you. God has a great life for you. He don't want you just sitting up there constantly crying and can't sleep at night, you can't eat. That's not of God. That is of a demonic force. That is of a familiar spirit. I know we were not created to grieve. Just like I said, I know that. But we live in a hopeless, broken, sick world where grieving is a process of us leaving here, of us dying. That's just going to happen. Each and every one of us are going to leave this earth. But when we leave, how does the person deal with it? How does my children, when I leave this world, deal with it? How do? They go marking up their body, putting tattoos all over to symbolize the fact that I was here. That's a bunch of foolishness to me. I've asked my loved ones, don't do it. I told my grandchildren not too long ago, listen here, when I die, I don't owe this world nothing. When I die, it's time to go. It's time to check out. And this is my thing. Don't go marking up your body with my name just to prove what point. Are you trying to prove that you love me? I know that you love me. I know that. Before I left the world, I know who loves me and who don't love me. I know that. I know you love me. You ain't got to put Miss Susie on here, on your arm, and, oh, I want to grieve. And you grieving so. The grief is so strong that you want to mark up your body. Instead of going to get you some therapy, counseling, a good person in your life that can help you get through this. But no, you go mark up your body. I told my grandchildren, don't do it. I want it to be over with and done because I've given this world what I had. Whatever I had to give the world, I gave the world. And once I check out, it's a done deal. And I know it's going to be hard for some to grasp because you want to keep the dead in the living. The dead cannot be among the living. Again, Ecclesiastes 9:5 for the people that love the Bible, like I do. The dead knows not anything. Once it's over with, it's over with. And it doesn't matter when it happened, how it happened, or the process. You just got to go through the process. You just got to quit and beating yourself up. And that opens the door for the enemy to deceive you with your own grief. That grief belongs to you. That's part of what you need to do to process so that you can live a good life after that, after you process it. Will you cry sometime? My father has been dead for many, many years. And I'm talking about many years. Over 30-some years, if I'm correct. And guess what, you all? There's sometimes I'll be riding down the street and I hear a song and I'll just cry. I'll cry about my father. Sometimes I'm thinking about my mother. So many memories, good memories we share together. And I think about something funny that my mother said or something that we was talking about. And I'll just cry. And that's healthy grief. That's healthy. How long will you cry? Forever? I remember when my mom was living with me and she was in her room and I heard somebody like crying, and I went in there and I said, "Hey Mom, what's going on?" She said, "I'm just sitting up here in my bed thinking about my mama." And she was crying. And I hugged my mama and I said, "Mama, it's okay." She said, "Susie, I'm not going to be here always." And I said, "I know." I said, "But it's okay." And I hugged my mom. But my mom was crying, and her mom had been dead many years. I'm talking about over 30-some years. Her mom had been dead, and she was crying about her mom. And there's another time, my uncle, he was like in his 80s, and there was a lady that was in our church that was grieving her mother. And my uncle, 80-some years old, was back there crying. And I said, "Hey, what's going on?" And he says, "I miss my mama too." Do you see grief? But they never allow grief to put a chokehold on them. They never allow grief to take away their joy, their peace, the things that God wants us to have. They didn't do that. They let that pass and went on about their business. You got to let it pass and then go about you. That's normal. It is normal to cry about your loved ones. Don't let the devil and nobody else ever tell you that that's not normal. That is very normal to cry. That is a part of the grieving process that we're going to have to endure. But what's not part of it is summoning up the dead. Having the dead sit in your bed, at your bed, having the dead talk with you, and you talking to the dead. "Yeah, look, Daddy, look, I bought you something. Look, Daddy, something's wrong with that." That's not healthy grief. It's not, because your Bible, my Bible says the dead knows not nothing. The dead is not among the living. So that's not healthy for you to do that. It's not. It's just going to take away. Think about it when you grieve. How do you feel afterwards? You should feel a sense of relief, because that's healthy grief. A sense of you let it out, you visited a time with your memories, and now you moved on. But you, every night you laying in your bed, you hollering and you crying. You lost so much weight, you can't even eat nothing because you're just thinking about that loved one over and over. That ain't grief. What is that? To me, that's torture. That's the enemy, a familiar spirit that keeps returning to prey on the grief. That's not God. Followers of Christ, get it together. You have to get it together. People say I'm a hard hat because I don't stay in stuff. I don't stay. They say, "Well, you know what? She didn't grieve about it. You don't know what I did. But I didn't do it like you. And maybe yours is regret. Maybe yours is something you did, you said, or whatever." No, I don't have any regrets. I know who I was to my parents. I know what kind of daughter I was. I know that. I know what kind of cousin I was when my cousins died. I know certain things about myself, and I didn't share it with the world. How I didn't cry and carry on with the world. I cried to my best friend about my mom, but I didn't just go every day crying and stuff. I would talk about her, talk about good things and stuff. But at the end of the day, I was not going to allow that grief to take me down. I was not going to do that because I knew it wasn't healthy. I've had enough counseling and therapy that I know what health looks like, and I know when the enemy is trying to wreck my life. I know what that looks like. Do I have days where I'm sad? Yeah. But I pick myself right back up and say, "God, give me the strength. God, give me the peace." And then I go and I remember Ecclesiastes 9:5. The dead knows not nothing. I remember that, and I say, "Okay, God, my mother is not here. My father is not here. My cousin is not here. Just let me remember them in such great ways. I don't remember anything bad. I always remember the good conversations we had and all the good times we spent together." That's healthy grief. But when you start doing all the other stuff where you can't eat, you can't sleep, and all you do is think about them, and you summon them up and you tell Daddy to come visit you, tell Mama, do you have dreams about your loved ones? Absolutely. I think I believe that is a way down. This is not biblically. It's not biblical, okay? But I'm just telling you, I think that sometimes when we have dreams, that's our way of God soothing us about our loved ones. I believe that. I could be wrong, okay? But I believe it's a certain peace in that. Because think about when you wake up and you think about your loved ones and it was a great dream, you smile, you know they're okay. You see them in a different manner. I've heard too many people say they dreamed about their loved ones and they were happy and they were running and they were at peace. One of my sister friend said she dreamed about her son, and he was so happy, and he died young. She said, but he was so happy, and that made her happy. And he had given his life to Christ. And she was just excited about the fact that she seen him in a dream. Oh, she didn't see him running across her room and all that, because that would have been a problem. That would have been a familiar spirit, and that means she stayed in grief too long. We're going to be in grieving now, don't get me wrong. We're going to be sorrowful at times, but we cannot live in it. Just remember that. The dead should not be among the living. No, no. Seek you some counseling. Seek you some help. Seek somebody.